The hospital room was sterile, cold, and silent except for the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor. Ethan Cole, 25, stood frozen by the door, his hazel eyes locked on the frail figure in the bed. His partner, Nathan Harper, 32, the man who'd been his world for 3 years. The words from Nathan's father still burned in Ethan's ears. "You're nothing but a gold-digging leech, and you'll get nothing from us." Ethan's breath caught as he gripped the doorframe, the weight of those words threatening to crush him. They'd called him a sugar baby, a parasite, and worse, Nathan's wealthy family had never accepted their love. Now, with Nathan fighting for his life, Ethan faced a choice that could change everything. Risk his own health to save the man he loved, or walk away from a family that despised him. Central Park had been their sanctuary, where they'd first met 3 years ago. Ethan, a barista with dreams of becoming a writer, had been sketching under an oak tree when Nathan, a sharp-dressed lawyer with a disarming smile, tripped over Ethan's backpack and spilled his coffee. Their laughter had sparked something instant, a connection that felt like fate. Nathan, older and established, had been drawn to Ethan's quiet passion, his unguarded heart. They'd spent hours on that same bench, sharing dreams, stealing kisses, and building a life together despite the world's judgment. But Nathan's family, the Harpers, were old money, their Manhattan penthouse a fortress of tradition. To them, Ethan was an outsider, a nobody from a small town in Ohio who'd seduced their golden son for his wealth. "You're too young, too poor, too wrong." Nathan's mother, Evelyn, had sneered at their first meeting. The accusations stung, but Ethan endured them for Nathan, who'd promised they'd face it all together. Now, Nathan lay unconscious, his kidneys failing after a sudden infection. The doctors were clear. Without a transplant, he wouldn't survive the month. Ethan had been tested on a whim, a desperate act after Nathan's family refused to get involved. The results were a miracle and a curse. He was a perfect match. Donating a kidney could save Nathan, but the risks were real. Complications, recovery, a lifetime of health concerns. Ethan's heart raced as he stared at Nathan's pale face. Could he do this, knowing the Harpers would never see him as more than opportunist? Ethan sank into the chair beside Nathan's bed, taking his hand. "I'm not doing this for them," he whispered, his voice trembling. "I'm doing it for you." The decision settled in his chest like a stone, heavy but certain. He'd give Nathan his kidney, not for approval, but because love demanded it. The next morning, Ethan met with Dr. Patel, a kind-eyed surgeon who explained the procedure in detail. "You're young and healthy, Ethan, but this is major surgery. There's a small chance of complications, bleeding, infection, or long-term issues. Are you sure?" Ethan nodded, his jaw tight. He'd already signed the consent forms, his resolve unshaken even as fear gnawed at him. Nathan's family was another story. Evelyn and Nathan's older brother, James, arrived at the hospital, their faces a mix of grief and suspicion. "You're doing this to worm your way into his will," James spat, his voice low but venomous. "You think this makes you family?" Ethan's fist clenched, but he held his tongue. He didn't need their approval. He needed Nathan to live. The day of the surgery came fast. Ethan lay on the operating table, the sterile lights blinding, his heart pounding as the anesthesia took hold. His last thought was of Nathan's smile, the one that had lit up his world. If this was the price of love, he'd pay it. When Ethan woke, groggy and sore, Dr. Patel's voice cut through the haze. "The transplant was a success. Nathan's stable, and your kidneys working perfectly." Relief flooded Ethan, but it was short-lived. James stood in the doorway, his arms crossed. "Don't expect a thank you," he said coldly. "You're still nothing to us." Ethan's recovery was grueling, each day a battle against pain and exhaustion. He visited Nathan when he could, sneaking into his room when the Harpers weren't around. Nathan, still weak, reached for Ethan's hand, his voice barely a whisper. "You saved me," he said, tears in his eyes. Ethan smiled, brushing a strand of hair from Nathan's forehead. "I'd do it again." But the Harpers' rejection lingered like a shadow. Evelyn had already consulted lawyers, ensuring Ethan was cut from Nathan's will. "He's not family," she declared, as if love could be measured by blood or money. Ethan didn't care about the inheritance. He cared about Nathan, about the life they'd promised each other. Yet the cruelty of their words cut deep, a reminder that their love was a battle they'd always have to fight. As Nathan grew stronger, so did Ethan's resolve. He wasn't just a partner. He was Nathan's lifeline, the one who'd risked everything. But the Harpers' disdain wasn't the only storm on the horizon. A letter arrived from Nathan's lawyer, revealing a secret that could unravel everything. Nathan had changed his will before his illness, naming Ethan as his sole beneficiary. The Harpers didn't know yet, but when they did, Ethan knew the fight for their love would only intensify. The letter trembled in Ethan's hands, its words a ticking bomb. Nathan had named him the sole heir to his estate. Millions in assets, the penthouse, the family's summer home in the Hamptons. Ethan's heart sank, not with greed, but with dread. The Harpers would see this as proof of their worst suspicions, that he'd manipulated Nathan for money. He shoved the letter into his jacket pocket, glancing at Nathan, who was asleep in the hospital bed, unaware of the storm brewing. Ethan hadn't asked for this. He'd never cared about Nathan's wealth. Only his laugh, his warmth, the way he made Ethan feel like he belonged. But the Harpers would never believe that. To them, Ethan was a con artist who'd somehow tricked their son into rewriting his will. The truth was simpler. Nathan had done it out of love, a quiet act of defiance against his family's prejudice. Ethan's stomach churned at the thought of the confrontation to come. Discharged from the hospital, Ethan returned to their shared apartment in Brooklyn, a cozy space filled with memories of late-night talks and lazy Sundays. He sat on the couch, staring at the letter, debating whether to tell Nathan. The surgery had bonded them in a way few could understand, but this secret felt like a betrayal. Nathan deserved to know, but Ethan feared it would tear them apart. Or worse, turn Nathan against his own family. The doorbell rang, sharp and insistent. Ethan opened it to find James, Nathan's brother, standing there, his face a mask of barely contained rage. "We need to talk," James said, pushing past Ethan into the apartment. He held a copy of the same letter, his knuckles white around the edges. "You think you've won, don't you? Seducing my brother, playing the hero with your little kidney stunt, and now this." He waved the letter like a weapon. Ethan's voice was steady, though his heart raced. "I didn't ask for any of this, James. I love Nathan. That's it." James laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "Love? You're a nobody who saw a paycheck. But you're not getting a dime. I'll make sure of it." The confrontation escalated, James's accusations slicing through Ethan's defenses. "You're not family. You're not one of us," James said, echoing his mother's venom. Ethan wanted to scream that he'd given a part of himself to save Nathan. That love wasn't about money or status. But James didn't care about truth, only power. He left with a warning. "We're contesting the will. You'll regret this." Ethan sank onto the couch, his scar aching from the surgery. He didn't want Nathan's money, but he couldn't deny the will was Nathan's choice, a testament to their bond. He decided to keep the letter a secret for now, at least until Nathan was stronger. The last thing Nathan needed was a family war. When Nathan was discharged, Ethan drove him home, their hands brushing as they navigated the city streets. Nathan's recovery was slow, but his spirit was returning. "You look worried," Nathan said one evening, catching Ethan's distant gaze. Ethan forced a smile. "Just glad you're here," he said, kissing Nathan's forehead. But the weight of the secret pressed harder each day. The Harpers didn't wait long to strike. Evelyn called a family meeting, demanding Nathan revoke the will. Ethan wasn't invited, but Nathan insisted he come, gripping his hand as they entered the penthouse. The air was thick with tension, Evelyn and James seated like judges at a trial. "Nathan, you can't be serious," Evelyn said, her voice icy. "This boy has manipulated you. He's after your money." Nathan's face hardened. "Ethan saved my life. He's my partner, not some stranger. I changed the will because I trust him, because I love him. Ethan's heart swelled, but the Harpers' glares were unrelenting. James leaned forward. We'll fight this in court. You're throwing away our legacy for a fling. The room erupted in accusations. Ethan's silence a shield against their hate. Nathan defended him fiercely, but Ethan saw the toll it took. Nathan's hands trembled, his face pale from the strain. That night, back in their apartment, Nathan broke down. I didn't want this to hurt you, he whispered, clinging to Ethan. I just wanted to protect you. Ethan held him, his own tears falling. We'll get through this, he promised, though he wasn't sure how. The Harpers' wealth and influence were daunting, but Ethan's love for Nathan was fiercer. He wouldn't let them destroy what they'd built. As weeks passed, the legal battle loomed. Ethan threw himself into writing, pouring his pain into a novel about love and sacrifice. It was his way of coping, of proving he was more than the Harpers' caricature. But a new threat emerged. Nathan's health took a turn. A routine checkup revealed his body was struggling to adjust to the new kidney, a rare complication that could mean rejection. Ethan's heart stopped at the news. Had he risked everything only to lose Nathan anyway? The hospital waiting room felt like a cage, its fluorescent lights buzzing as Ethan paced. Nathan's condition had worsened overnight, his fever spiking, his body fighting the new kidney. Ethan's scar throbbed, a cruel reminder of the organ he'd given, now threatening to fail. He'd sacrificed so much, but the universe seemed determined to test their love further. Dr. Patel emerged, her expression grave but hopeful. We're adjusting his medications to stabilize him. It's not rejection yet, but we're monitoring closely. Ethan nodded, his throat tight. He couldn't lose Nathan, not after everything. He sat by Nathan's bedside, watching him sleep, his chest rising and falling with fragile breaths. You're stronger than this, Ethan whispered, willing Nathan to fight. The Harpers' legal threats didn't pause for Nathan's health. James sent a formal notice, announcing their intent to contest the will on grounds of undue influence. The accusation stung. Ethan, the man who'd nearly died to save Nathan, was painted as a schemer. He wanted to fight back, to scream his truth, but Nathan needed him more. So he stayed silent, focusing on Nathan's recovery. Nathan's condition stabilized over the next week, but he was weaker, his spirit dimmed by pain and family strife. Ethan brought him books, played their favorite songs, anything to spark a smile. One evening, Nathan grabbed Ethan's hand, his voice hoarse. If I don't make it, promise me you'll fight for us. For what we are. Ethan's heart broke. You're not going anywhere, he said fiercely. We're in this together. Outside the hospital, Ethan's life unraveled. His barista job couldn't cover their bills, and his writing dreams felt like a luxury he couldn't afford. The Harpers' lawyer sent a cease and desist letter, accusing Ethan of defaming the family in his novel's early drafts, which he'd shared with a friend. It was a low blow, a reminder of their power. Ethan felt trapped, but Nathan's love kept him grounded. One night, a stranger approached Ethan at the hospital cafeteria. She was a nurse, her badge reading Clara. I've seen you with Nathan, she said softly. My brother's gay, and our family disowned him too. You're not alone. Her words were a lifeline, a reminder that others understood their fight. Clara became an unexpected ally, sneaking Ethan extra time with Nathan when visiting hours ended. Inspired by Clara's kindness, Ethan began reaching out to the local LGBT community, attending support groups in Brooklyn. He met others who'd faced rejection, their stories mirroring his own. One member, a lawyer named Mia, offered pro bono help with the will dispute. You save his life, Mia said. That's worth fighting for. For the first time, Ethan felt hope beyond Nathan's recovery, a chance to stand up to the Harpers. Nathan's health improved slowly, his body accepting the kidney with new medications. Ethan read him chapters from his novel, their love story woven into fiction. Nathan's eyes lit up, his laughter a balm for Ethan's wounds. You're telling our story, Nathan said. Don't let them stop you. Ethan vowed to keep writing, to honor their love in every word. But the Harpers escalated their attack. Evelyn hired a private investigator, digging into Ethan's past for dirt. They found nothing scandalous, just a small-town kid who'd worked hard to build a life in New York. Still, they twisted his modest background into proof of his unworthiness. At a tense court hearing, their lawyer argued Nathan was coerced, his illness clouding his judgment. Ethan sat in the back, his heart pounding, as Nathan's frail voice defended their love from the stand. The judge's ruling was a temporary reprieve. The will stood, pending further evidence. Ethan and Nathan celebrated quietly, but the victory was bittersweet. The Harpers' hatred hadn't softened, and Nathan's health remained fragile. Ethan began to wonder if love could truly conquer all, or if the cost of their bond was too high. As winter settled over New York, Ethan found a new purpose. He joined a local writing group, pouring his pain into his novel. The community embraced him, their support a stark contrast to the Harpers' cruelty. But a late-night call from Dr. Patel shattered his fragile peace. Nathan's condition had taken another turn. Ethan rushed to the hospital, fear gripping his heart. Was this the end of their fight, or just another battle in their war for love? The hospital's fluorescent halls blurred as Ethan ran, his sneakers squeaking against the linoleum. Nathan's latest complication, a dangerous infection, threatened to undo everything. Ethan burst into the room, finding Nathan awake but pale, his eyes heavy with exhaustion. "I'm still here," Nathan murmured, managing a weak smile. Ethan gripped his hand, fighting tears. Every setback felt like a personal failure, as if his kidney, his sacrifice, wasn't enough. Dr. Patel was blunt. The infection was serious, but treatable with aggressive antibiotics. "He's fighting," she said, "but he needs you to keep him strong." Ethan nodded, resolve hardening. He'd been Nathan's rock through every storm. He wouldn't falter now. He spent nights by Nathan's side, reading, talking, even singing off-key to make him laugh. Each small victory, Nathan's fever breaking, his strength returning, felt like a miracle. The Harpers, however, saw Nathan's fragility as an opportunity. Evelyn filed a new motion, claiming Nathan's illness made him incompetent to manage his estate. Their lawyer painted Ethan as a predator, exploiting Nathan's vulnerability. The accusations were relentless, but Ethan's new allies, Mia, Clara, and the writing group, rallied around him. Mia worked tirelessly, uncovering inconsistencies in the Harpers' claims, while Clara shared stories of her brother's fight for acceptance, reminding Ethan he wasn't alone. One evening, Nathan surprised Ethan with a request. "Let's get married," he said, his voice steady despite his weakness. Ethan froze, joy and fear colliding. Marriage would cement their bond, but it would also enrage the Harpers further. "I don't care what they think," Nathan said, his eyes fierce. "I want the world to know you're mine." Ethan's heart soared, and they began planning a small hospital ceremony, a defiant act of love. The wedding was simple, held in Nathan's room with Clara and Mia as witnesses. Ethan wore a borrowed suit, Nathan a hospital gown, but their vows were raw and real. "You gave me life," Nathan whispered, slipping a ring onto Ethan's finger. "I'll spend mine loving you." Tears streamed down Ethan's face as they kissed, the weight of their promise drowning out the Harpers' hate. But the Harpers' retaliation was swift. James leaked the marriage to the press, spinning it as Ethan's final grab for Nathan's fortune. Tabloids ran cruel headlines, "Gold digger weds dying heir." Ethan's inbox filled with hate mail, and strangers glared at him on the subway. The scrutiny was suffocating, but Nathan's love kept him grounded. "They don't know us," Nathan said, squeezing Ethan's hand. "We know the truth." Ethan's novel became his refuge, its pages a testament to their resilience. He submitted it to a small press, hoping to share their story with the world. To his shock, an editor responded, praising its raw emotion and offering a deal. The advance was modest, but it was a start. a chance to prove he was more than the Harper's caricature. Nathan's health stabilized, and he was discharged again, this time with cautious optimism. They returned to their apartment, where Ethan hung fairy lights to celebrate their marriage. But the Harpers' legal battle intensified. At a deposition, Evelyn broke down, admitting she feared losing Nathan to Ethan's influence. Her vulnerability was humanizing, but it didn't erase her cruelty. Ethan saw a flicker of doubt in Nathan's eyes. Family ties ran deep, even when toxic. One night, Nathan confessed his own fear, that his illness would burden Ethan forever. "You've given up so much," he said, his voice breaking. Ethan knelt before him, fierce. "You're not a burden. You're my home." They held each other, their love a shield against the world's judgment. As spring bloomed, so did Ethan's hope. His novel's publication date was set, and Nathan's health held steady. But a final court date loomed, the Harpers' last chance to destroy the will. Ethan and Nathan prepared together, their bond unbreakable. Whatever the outcome, they'd face it as husbands, as partners, as survivors. The courtroom was a battlefield, its polished wood and stern judge a stark contrast to the chaos of Ethan and Nathan's lives. Ethan sat beside Nathan, their hands clasped under the table, as the Harpers' lawyer argued their case with surgical precision. Ethan Cole exploited Nathan Harper's vulnerability. He declared, securing a will that defies family values. Ethan's heart pounded, but Nathan's steady grip kept him anchored. Mia, their lawyer, countered with fierce clarity, presenting evidence of Nathan's sound mind when he changed the will. She called witnesses, Dr. Patel, Clara, even Ethan's writing group leader, who testified to Ethan's selflessness, his sacrifice, their love. The judge listened intently, her face unreadable. Ethan's novel, now published, sat on the table as evidence, its dedication reading, "To Nathan, my heart, my home." The Harpers' final witness was Evelyn. She took the stand, her composure cracking as she spoke of losing her son to a stranger. But under Mia's cross-examination, Evelyn faltered, admitting she'd never tried to understand Ethan, only judged him. The courtroom fell silent, her words a quiet confession of prejudice. Nathan squeezed Ethan's hand, tears in his eyes. The judge's ruling came swiftly. Nathan's will was valid. The Harpers' claims of undue influence were dismissed, their accusations crumbling under the weight of truth. Ethan exhaled, relief flooding him, but victory felt hollow. The Harpers left the courtroom in silence, their faces etched with defeat. Nathan turned to Ethan, his smile radiant. "We did it," he whispered. Ethan nodded, but his heart ached for the family Nathan still loved. In the weeks that followed, Ethan's novel gained traction, its raw portrayal of love and sacrifice resonating with readers. Reviews praised its honesty, and Ethan found himself at book signings sharing their story. Nathan, now stronger, stood by his side, proud and unwavering. They moved to a new apartment, a fresh start away from the Harper shadow. But the true turning point came unexpectedly. Evelyn appeared at their door one evening, her eyes red from crying. "I was wrong," she said, her voice trembling. "I saw you as a threat, not a person. Nathan's alive because of you." It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. Ethan invited her in, and they talked, awkwardly at first, then with cautious honesty. Nathan wept, holding his mother's hand, a bridge rebuilt from ashes. James never came around, but Evelyn's change was enough. She didn't embrace Ethan fully, but she stopped fighting him. The will, the money, the estate, it all faded into the background. What mattered was the life Ethan and Nathan built. Mornings in Central Park, nights writing and laughing, a love that had weathered every storm. Years later, Ethan stood at a podium, accepting an award for his novel. Nathan sat in the front row, his health restored, his smile brighter than ever. Ethan's speech was simple. "Love isn't about what you gain, it's about what you give. I gave a kidney, but Nathan gave me everything. The crowd applauded, but Ethan's eyes were on Nathan, the man who'd taught him that love could conquer even the deepest wounds. Their story wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. The Harper's rejection, the hospital rooms, the courtroom battles. They were chapters in a journey that proved love's power. Ethan and Nathan walked hand in hand through Central Park, under the same oak tree where they'd met, their rings glinting in the sunlight. The world had tried to tear them apart, but they'd emerged stronger, their love a testament to sacrifice, resilience, and the beauty of second chances.